Today we're going to look at the political landscape of Europe between 1815, or the Congress of Vienna, up until 1832, which is going to end with the Great Reform Bill in Britain. We're going to look at several different countries. We're going to look at German nations. We're going to look at Britain, France, Spain, Belgium, Greece, Russia. We're going to try to hit them all, okay? But first, let's look at our focusing question. Okay, so the focusing question asks, how did the political landscape of Europe change as old and new ideas battled for control of European political minds? Okay, so pay attention to that as we go through and be ready to answer some questions. So let's look back at some of the conditions leading into the political atmosphere going into 1815. And in doing so, we need to look at the French Revolution and the Age of Napoleon, because out of those two time periods, what we see is the emergence of new ideas. Politically, you're looking at the ideas of conservatives, liberals, and Republicans. And let's start off with liberals right there in the middle. Now, liberals tended to be in the middle class, the bourgeoisie, the merchants, the new wealth, the those who really kind of started the French Revolution. Okay, but what these members want is they want change. Liberals want change, but they want change to be gradual, not too fast. They don't want to go too far. Okay, and so what they really want is they want more power for themselves. And so they're trying to create a limited monarchy. So you can remain to have the king. The king remains in power, but he shares power with an elected body, a legislature. Okay, they want the vote to be limited, though. They don't want to have open enfranchisement or universal enfranchisement, which means everybody would get to vote. They're looking for the vote to be extended to them, but then stop. Okay, which takes us to who they don't want to vote, which are the urban poor, the uneducated, and so that is and those are the Republicans. Okay, the Republicanism is this idea that you get rid of the king. Okay, that old is gone. Major change, and you have a government of the people with universal voting. Okay, and that is going to be the urban poor. Now, on the other side of the liberals, you have the conservatives, and with the conservatives, what you're looking for are those royalists, those people who like the monarchy, aristocrats who want to keep power in the hands of those who had power before. Okay, now there's a surprising group that supports that, and that would be the peasants. The peasants support the conservatives mainly because of the affiliation with the Catholic Church. Okay, now there's another ism that we're going to talk about that's going to have a very important impact here, and that is going to be nationalism. Now it's going to have a little bit of impact up till 1832, my fault, but it's going to have a major impact when we get to 1832 to 1849. But nationalism is the idea that a group of people who share a common language, a common history, a common territory, a common culture, are going to be bonded, right? And that bond is stronger than any bond that you can have to a leader or a king, right? And that when making decisions, you're making decisions in order to support that group that has those commonalities, okay? And what you're going to see there is you're going to see that bond uniting some groups of some people into one nation, or it's going to be causing friction where you have nations that have multiple groups in it that want to split up and have power for themselves. So each nation wants to have their own sovereignty or power. Okay. Other things that you do need to keep in mind is you do need to understand that this is coming out of also the Industrial Revolution. So as you have industrialization, you're going to have more people who are workers and in that urban poor. It's a growing group, and they want more and more political power as they grow. Okay. So in a second, we're going to get into who are some of the major players. In examining this period of time and this political atmosphere, we're not going to talk about too many individual people. I just want to give you a couple people that do come up. For the conservative groups, you have people like Clemens von Metternich, who we talked about in the Congress of Vienna, who is going to really push for the power of the monarchies and legitimate powers from prior to the French Revolution. You also have someone like Edmund Burke, who was the British writer who criticized the French Revolution and the Republican government in France as being too extreme, too chaotic, and too violent. Okay, when you look at the liberals, you have someone like Benjamin Constant, who you had a reading from in the book, who is going to talk about the relationship of liberty with economic freedom, Because we got to remember with the liberals, you're not looking at liberals supporting all people. What you're looking for the liberals supporting are the middle classes, those business owners, merchants, and such. Okay. When you look at nationalism, you're going to see people like Mazzini, Giuseppe Mazzini. Book fell down. Not happy about that. So you're going to look at Mazzini, who's an Italian nationalist, who's going to talk about how important it is that people of like minds come together and create power for themselves as a group. But then you also have people who are fearful of nationalism, like Lord Acton of Britain, who is going to criticize it as something that is going to be potentially harmful to the minorities, who, as not members of that national group, but still living in a territory, are going to be left out, abandoned, and he brings up some mighty good points, especially when you look at what happens going into something like World War II and Hitler with the Nazis. Okay, so those are some of the major players, but what we really want to get into is the details of some of the major events that happen. Sorry, I had to put that back up. Okay, so let's look at some of the things that happened within Europe at this time. Let's go through them chronologically, and let's start off in Germany. So in the German states, remember there is no Germany yet. There's the Confederation of German States, and there's 39 states, mainly with Prussia and Austrian leadership. And so the first thing that starts happening is you have student nationalistic groups that start forming at the different colleges and universities. And these groups start really supporting nationalistic ideas and within those groups you have some, but not many, but some Republicans who are calling for an end to the monarchy and a Republican government. And then a major event happens, and a student named Carl Sand assassinates a conservative dramatist and then is publicly executed for the killing. Now, while Sand acted alone and did this as an individual, Metternich and other German leaders decided to use this opportunity to kind of stop these nationalistic movements.